text 24. Chapter 25 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, text number 24. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yonta sukontar aramas. Yonta sukontar aramas. Tatanta jyotirevaya. Tatanta jyotirevaya. Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam. Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam. Brahma Bhuto Digacchati. Brahma Bhuto Digacchati. Yonta Sukontara Aramas. Tatanta Jyotirevaya. Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam. Brahma Bhuto Digacchati. Yonta Sunkontaramas. Tatanta Jyotirevaya. Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam. Brahma Bhuto Digacchati. Yonta Sunkontaramas. Tatanta Jyotirevaya. Sabram Yoga Nirvanam. Yeah. Yaha, one who, antasukha, happy from within, anta arama, actively enjoying within, tata, as well as, anta jyotihi, aiming within, eva, certainly, ya, anyone, sa, he, yogi, a mystic, Brahma Nirvanam, liberation in the Supreme, Brahma Bhutahat, being self-realized, Adhigacchati, attains. Translation: one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Purport: unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahmabhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back home, back to Godhead, back to home. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Garim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. So these verses are continuing to show or explain that consciousness are the situation of the liberated soul, someone who is already in touch with the Paramatma. So they are happy within, anta sukhaha. Inside they're happy, right? Many people do so many things for happiness, but inside they're not happy. They earn money. They have so many friendships. They're in so many societies, but still inside they're not happy. But someone who's in relationship with the Supreme, they're happy internally. So no matter what the external situation is, they're happy inside. Antaramas, they're enjoying within, as well as antajoti. Here it says aiming within. Aiming. Mostly our consciousness is aiming at something external. That something that we consider will make us happy. Whatever it is. Some external thing. But here, it's described that the yogi or the mystic, his happiness comes from within. The happiness comes from within. And that such a person can obtain the Supreme. As long as one is striving to satisfy the senses or satisfy some desire in relation to the senses, one will not be able to actually develop the relationship with the Supreme. The Supreme Lord is residing within everyone's heart. And in the Upanishads it is described that just like two birds sitting in the tree, one bird is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, and the other bird is witnessing the activities of the bird trying to enjoy the fruits. So this situation is Atma and Paramatma. The tree is compared to the body. The two birds are the living entity and the Paramatma. So the living entity is trying to enjoy the senses, right? Like the bird trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree. And the Paramatma is witnessing the activities of the living entity. He Anumanta, Upadrasta, and Anumanta. Upadrasta, Anumanta means that the Paramatma oversees everything the living entity is doing, and he permits the living entity, right? It's not that the Lord wants the living entity to be in Maya. He doesn't want. But the living entity wants to try to become happy separate from the Lord. That's his goal. On his own, he'll become happy, right? So this is the problem. The living entity can never become happy minus God. The living entity becomes happy in cooperation with God. Just like the body has hands, right? So the hands can grab the food. Let's say the hand takes one rasgulla. So now what is the hand supposed to do with the rasgulla? If you give the mouth, it goes to the belly, right? So the hand is feeding the belly. The recipient is the belly, right? If the hand thinks, I'm not going to give the belly anymore, I'll enjoy myself, the hand. What he'll do with that rasgulla, the hand, only hand, right? After some time, the rasgulla will become pacha. No benefit. If the hand cooperates with the belly and gives the rasgulla, then the whole body gets benefited. In the same way, the living entity can become happy in cooperation with the service of the Lord. When the living entity is independently trying to become happy, independently trying to enjoy the senses, then the living entity is always in anxiety. All bad qualities, kam, krodh, lobh, matsarya, all bad qualities come. But as soon as the living entity understands that my happiness depends on my cooperation with the happiness of the Lord, and then he works that way, then all these qualities come. Happiness within, enlightenment within, right? The living entity, that the devotee of the Lord is happy because they understand their relationship with Krishna. They have an eternal relationship with Krishna. They're surrendered to Krishna. The living entity is happy who surrenders to Krishna. Those who are not surrendered to Krishna, they're always in anxiety. What's an example of surrender to Krishna? One, the devotee thinks that I'm dependent on Krishna. I'm depending on Krishna. Those who are not devotees, they think that they're dependent on their own abilities, their own intelligence, right? And they don't think that whatever happens to them is by the arrangement of the Lord. They think whatever happens is by their own arrangement. I worked hard, I made money, I bought a house, I bought a car, my house, my car. But the devotee thinks, by the arrangement of the Lord, money came, I could buy this house, the house belongs to Krishna, the money belongs to Krishna. Such a person is happy. They're enlightened. They understand what is what. And it's described here that such a person becomes fit to return home back to Godhead. This is not our home. This material world is not our original place. We're eternal spirit souls. The soul is eternal. But because we're not in our home, we're in some foreign place, this material world, therefore we're experiencing birth, death, old age, disease. Right? In our constitutional position as the eternal servant of Krishna, there's no death, no old age, no disease. This comes with the body. So these verses in this part of the Bhagavad Gita are describing the consciousness of someone who's fixed up in their relationship with the Supreme. I'll read the next verse. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Shina Kalmashaha Chinadvaida Yatatmana Sarva Bhuta Hiterataha. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Purport. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he's completely freed from all sins. This is a state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot actually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he's actually liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. One shloka, iha yasya hare dasya karmana manasa gira nakilas vapyavastastu jivan muktasa uchite. That someone who has used their mind, their words, and their body in the service of the Supreme, they're a liberated soul. Now, how to use your mind, your body, and your words in the service of the Supreme? Well, don't sit like that. We use our minds in the service of the Supreme by thinking of God. To think of God. And what's the best way to think of God? By chanting His holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. The mind has so many subject matters for thinking. The mind can go so many places. Like that, travel by the speed of the mind. You can go back to your village and remember the mango trees in your village. Just like that, right? Or anything else. But yoga means to control the mind, to think of the Supreme. And the Supreme is not something impersonal. It's not something without form, without personality. No. The Supreme, you have your form, you have a form, you have your personality. So why do you say that the Lord cannot have form, the Lord cannot have personality? If you say like that, that means the Lord doesn't have something you can have. That means you're greater than the Lord. How is it possible? If we have our own personality and form, means God has His form. God has His personality. But God's form is never material. God's form is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, always eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, Ananda. But due to our conditioning by the material nature, we have taken on a form that's Asat, Achit, and Nirananda, this material body. Huh? So, Krishna consciousness means developing our Sat Chit Ananda form. Just as God is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, the living entity, we the living entities are also full of knowledge and bliss. But we're covered over. We're now covered over by the material nature in the form of this body. And we identify with the body as us. People are thinking I'm Russian, I'm American, I'm Ukrainian, I'm Indian. All right? But we're none of these things. It's like thinking I'm a yellow shirt, I'm a white shirt. We're not the shirt, that's our covering. Same way we're not this body, it's a covering. And only if you establish your relationship with God can you understand that. By simultaneously establishing your relationship with God, you realize your identity as the eternal spirit soul. Nothing to do with this material body. As long as we're thinking this body, we're this body, we'll try to, in various ways, try to enjoy the body, right? And through those efforts of trying to enjoy this body, we'll commit so many sins. Right? But as long as we're sinful, we cannot understand our relationship with Krishna. We have to become free from sins. Right? And in this Kali Yuga, the sins are illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, intoxication. These are the sins that one has to avoid. But again, in Kali Yuga, very difficult to avoid these sinful activities. But it's possible. It's possible because in Kali Yuga there's a special concession that one can very easily develop one's relationship with God, with Krishna. And that is that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can obtain the highest realization. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kaloa nasteva 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 gatiranyata. In Kali Yuga, by chanting this holy name of Krishna, one can obtain the highest destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is not our home. This is a temporary place that we've come. Sometimes we're in the body, this body or that body, a tree body, a dog body, a human body, right? We're rotating in different bodies. Right? And it's not in our hand. It's not that after this body we can say, okay, I'll take that body. No. It will come to us by our karma, by our activities, and by the nature, Daiva-Netrena. We'll decide what body we get. So to become free from this ever-changing of bodies, this chanting of the holy name, fixing our mind, right, on Krishna by chanting and using our body in the service of Krishna. then very easily we can return back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. And even while in this lifetime, we can be in the liberated state, Jivan Mukta. How is that? By fully engaging the words, talk about Krishna. People want to talk about so many other things, right? They want to talk about the Bollywood stars. They want to think about the Bollywood stars or Hollywood stars, right? Or the cricket players. But thinking about these people will not liberate us from Maya. Krishna performed so many activities when he was here 5,000 years ago in Vrindavan and in Dwarka and in Mathura. Krishna, in Vrindavan, he tended the cows. He played with the cowherd boys. He danced with the gopis. And in Dwarka, he performed so many pastimes. So we can think about these pastimes. We can remember these pastimes. And we can describe these pastimes to others. And that will keep the mind and the words engaged in the service of Krishna. And activities. Everyone is performing activities. You must do some work. Even if you want to maintain your material body, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to work. Right? You may have rice, you may have dal, but you have to put together the two and cook it. Then you'll get khichdi. Only rice and dal, what you'll do? You can eat rice and dal. No. You have to work. Get a pot, wash the rice and dal, put it in the water, start the fire. Nowadays they have gas, but in the old days they had to start the fire with some wood or some gobar, right? You have to work. Then you can eat. So Krishna's right. Everything he says, Krishna, is right. Everything Krishna says is right. It's true. It's the absolute truth. It's true for Christians, Hindus, Muslims. It's true for everyone. Right? It's not just the Hindus have to make khichdi. The Muslims also have to make khichdi. Christians also have to make khichdi. They have to work. So you can't maintain this body without doing some work. The secret of success is to do that work for the pleasure of God, Krishna. Then we become successful. Then that work becomes bhakti. It becomes devotional service, right? You make your khichdi, you offer that khichdi to Krishna first. And then you take Krishna prasadam. That becomes bhakti. That allows us, that simple act, help us to understand we're not this body. This place is not our permanent place. We're thinking this is, ye mera bacha hai, ye mera bungalow hai, ye mera bibi hai. Lekin nahi hai. Kitne der ke liye? How much time? Very soon it'll be over. Then again, new bacha, new bungalow, new bibi, new, everything new. New chapter. Right? New chapter. So how to understand what is real? What is real is a permanent thing, not a temporary thing. If it's temporary, it's not real. It's not going to last. Whatever it is in this material world is not going to last. All right? What is real lasts forever. Our relationship with Krishna lasts forever. It's not temporary. Last life, Krishna was there as the Paramatma. In this life, Krishna is with us as the Paramatma. And Krishna continues to be with us. That's permanent. Doesn't change. We may choose to ignore Krishna, but Krishna never ignores us. He's always there. He's waiting. He's waiting for us to approach Him. Right? If we can use this life to approach Krishna, then we become successful in life. Success means at the end of this life, you don't have to take birth again in the material world. That's success. What is the value of a life only meant for sense gratification? Lord Rishabdev asked his sons, that life is available even for hogs and dogs. Hogs and dogs also, they have children, they have families. They're also eating, they're also sleeping. But in this human form of life, there's a special ingredient. It's called buddhi, intelligence. And that intelligence is meant to understand how we can enjoy eternally Brahma Sokyam. Not this temporary happiness in the material world, which comes and goes. That's not real happiness. We're looking for Brahma Sokyam, eternal happiness, happiness that doesn't stop. We want a whole ocean of happiness. But in this material world, the happiness is like a drop of water in the desert. In the desert, you need water. If you're in the desert, you need water, right? Tell me, you're in the desert, you're very thirsty, and somebody comes and says, oh, you need water? Here's one drop. What you'll do with that one drop of water? Right? You want so much water. You're thirsty. In the same way, we're eternal. We're looking for eternal happiness. We're looking for a whole ocean of happiness. But in the material world, all you get is one drop. So how to get that ocean of happiness? That happiness that's described here is within. That's illuminating. And that happiness that we can share with others. We can help other people. We see so many social welfare activities that are being done. People are distributing food, are doing medical help. But these are all things in relationship to the body. The real help that I can do for someone else is to enlighten them about spiritual life, who they are. Just like a son of a king, the son of a rich man, if he becomes a homeless on the street because he forgot that he forgot who his father was. So he became a homeless on the street. So if I come and tell him, Hare Baba, your father is a very rich man, why you're living here on the street? Then I'm helping him. I may give him 50 rupees. But that 50 rupees, do chai and finished, right? But if I tell him, hey, you're the son of a rich man, go to your home, you'll get everything there, then I'm really helping. So social welfare activities is like that. 2 cups of chai, khatam. But give someone spiritual knowledge. Help them to understand their identity as the part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, that these jivas, that's us, we're jiva. Very small, very, very small. And Krishna is very, very big. But we're part of Krishna. And Krishna is happy to have our association, but we've forgotten Him. And we're wandering in this world like a homeless, struggling. And the devotees of the Lord say, hey, your father, Krishna, is a very rich man. Why are you hanging around here in this material world suffering? So then, that devotee of the Lord becomes our greatest friend, really helping us. So we can easily reestablish our relationship with our eternal Father, Krishna. How? In Kali Yuga, by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The holy name of the Lord is so powerful. It can wake us up. It can clear off all the misconceptions that we have about life. It can show us the reality, right? This life is just like going to the cinema. You go to the cinema, you sit there in India, the cinemas are about 3 hours, right? 3 ghanta. American cinema, maximum 1 hour. But Indian cinema, 3, not less. 14 fights, 7 or 8 dances, right? And then you come out of the cinema and the sunlight hits you and you think, oh, that was just a show. It's over now. So this life is like that. I'm thinking I'm Gujarati, I'm Marwari, I'm American, Russian, so many things, Irish. It's just like being in a movie show. It's not real. But how to wake up, how to come outside and see the light and understand what the real thing is. And that is the power of the holy name. The holy name of Krishna is so powerful. We want to be happy, you have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Everyone in the material world has some difficulty, some suffering is there. Everyone. 100%. Some problem is there. So how to overcome these problems? Chant the holy name. This material world is such a bad place. It's like being in a blazing fire. If you're in a forest fire, there's nowhere to go. You run this way or that way, fire everywhere. How to become free from the blazing fire of this material existence? No one wants to be old, but everybody has to become old. No one wants disease. Anybody here want cancer? You want cancer? Raise your hand. No, nobody wants cancer, but cancer comes. Nobody wants to die, but death comes. You can stop death. They have one saying. The saying is, 2 things are sure in life, death and taxes. So we don't want these things, but these things are forced upon us. How to get relief? If you're in a forest fire, the only way you can get relief from the blazing forest fire is if it rains. If rains come, clouds and rains, then the forest fire is extinguished. So it's described in Shastra that the Guru is just like the rains, and the knowledge that the Guru gives extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence, so that we can experience unlimited, genuine happiness, which everyone is looking for, but they're not finding in the material world. It's not here. Just like there's no water in the desert. You want water, you're not going to find it in the desert. You want happiness, you're not going to find it in this material world. No. Jitna kaam karega, jitna paisa kamega, happiness, ananda, nahi mil raha hai. Kya mil rahenge? Dukh, and this unhappiness. So you want happiness, you have to chant the holy name and engage our senses in the service of Krishna, eat Krishna prasadam, talk about Krishna, and we can become free from the sufferings of this material world. And at the end of this life, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if at the end you think of me, you will come to me, right? When we leave this body, if we think of Krishna, we'll go to Krishna. So we have to practice in this life to think of Krishna. The best way to think of Krishna is to chant His holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Then it'll be easy for us to think of Krishna at the end of this life, and we can go back to our home, our real home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Huh? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. सब लोग बोलिए, भगवान का नाम लीजिए। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Shri Shri Radha Rasa Bihari ki, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Nitai Go Premanande.